coming to get you, Barbara.
Here's some money. Go see a Star War.
But I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd.
Welcome back to Long Walk Talks. My name is Stan Wilson Lee. I'm the VP of Long Walk Productions, and I'm joined tonight by my two co-hosts, Chris Wilson Barnes and David Wilson Helmsley.
David Wilson Helmsley.
Did I say Helmsley?
Who the hell
I
is
heard
that?
him say both that and the N was in there somewhere too.
I said
That's,
Like Helmsley.
what an experiment this has been. That's the last time I let you do that.
no. I'll get better. I wasn't sure I was supposed to do that.
Da-na-na-na,
Should we do it again?
No,
Okay.
we're leaving it as is. Thank you for that intro, Stan. This is Long Walk Talks, and we are going to be kicking off our new
It started
segment
off so well
for the
too.
year.
I got all the way through until the end,
Right until the end.
where I usually fail.
This year, me and Chris and Stan, we have each picked what we consider 4 perfect 10 films, and we are going to be discussing them. And for these first 4 months, it is Stan's turn. So, Stan, what film/films are we kicking this year off with?
Well, this first section of mine, since I have the first 4 months, the first month is The Fellowship of the Ring, or Lord of the Rings trilogy, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers.
He started by cheating.
I was going to say, I mean, if you really wanted to cheat, we could have done Fellowship this month, Two Towers next month.
I literally thought about that.
And then you'd only have
And
to
that
pick
would've been-
one more film.
That would have been easier. But
No, he did the other cheating where he got 3 movies as one thing.
It's true.
but no, I have 4 sets, man.
Yes, sets. Because there's 3
There's 4
movies in this.
movies.
Yeah,
I have 4 movies.
no, that's what I'm saying is though you technically have
this
6.
is a whole.
Yes, I agree with
5.
you. It is a whole. So, all right, Stan, we're just going to go off the assumption that most of our listeners have to be at least familiar with Lord of the Rings and the films.
Yeah.
Fellowship came out 20 years ago.
And that's one of the reasons why I picked it, is because it's its 20th anniversary of the trilogy start, and there hasn't been much to do about it, and it seems like for me this is a film that deserves its accolades and its anniversary showings and such like that. But so I figured this would be a good one to start since it is one of my favorites and it is his 20th anniversary.
All right, so why don't you kick off this discussion? What is our first topic?
The first topic is how great it is to have a best friend like Samwise Gamgee. And my question is, or what I'm purporting to y'all is, if you can give me 3 examples of why he's the bestest of best friends, and ideally one each from each part. Chris, let's start with you.
Oh, okay. Well, clearly in Fellowship, he's such a good friend because he was taking the time to trim Mr. Frodo's grass in the evening. I mean, that's a dedicated gardener.
True that.
No, really. Well, at least for me, it's at the end of the movie when he yells he's going with Frodo, whether he likes it or not, and almost drowns trying to do it.
Yep.
2. This is kind of hazy because in order to do this, I watched each movie one night after the other, Sunday through Tuesday. I'm trying to think. I'm just trying to remember. There's so, like I told you guys when
There's 9.5 hours worth of material here.
I mean, if you only did theatrical.
Yes, which Stan and I, we should have said, Stan and I watched the extended editions. Chris watched the theatrical.
And even just what I watched, I told them, I was like, each one felt like it was an entire season of TV in one sitting.
Yeah.
I mean, not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's a lot to try and remember. 2, in their journey, I think, well, just in particular, I I think after the events of the Fellowship, you see Sam. It's not Stan. I was about to say Stam.
Yes.
Stand-wise Gamgee.
Stand-wise Gamgee.
I don't know if that wise needs to be on the end, but all right. The second one, he's a lot more proactive, and he gets in between Mr. Frodo and danger more than often than not.
Yes.
And in the third one, there's a lot, but I think it's especially the part where he just carries Frodo up Mountain Dew.
Yeah, it's hard to top that. Also, I got to say how amazingly Sam-like it is of you to keep saying Mr. Frodo.
It keeps slipping in because thinking about all of his scenes, that's practically the only way he addresses Frodo.
Yeah.
And it's so because they've been drinking together and drinking buddies for a really long time,
Yeah.
it appears. And it's like he's always Mr. Frodo because he sees himself as, like you said, he's Frodo's gardener and stuff like that, mows his lawn and stuff. And even if it's out of friendship, it's still like he sees it as a professional relationship.
And for as lighthearted as I'm being, I mean, really, in the character of Samwise, as like that is the kind of friend I would aspire to be to anyone that I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm having trouble thinking of anything that tops what Chris said about Fellowship. Him wading into the water and nearly drowning. It's hard to top that, at least in Fellowship.
Especially because in Fellowship, you see it have to build, because mostly in the first of it, he's just kind of scared of Gandalf, who's told him, you have to go and don't you lose him.
Yeah. And then again, in Two Towers, it is hard to top Sam's monologue at the end when they're in Osgiliath.
Yeah.
By all rights, we're not supposed to be here.
That's true.
I mean, God, that's such a beautiful monologue, and it's such a wonderful performance by Sean Astin. 3, I think the most impressive thing Sam did was he does a lot of impressive things in Return of the King. He managed to carry the ring for a while, like long enough for Frodo to get taken back to that tower and wake up, and seemingly suffered no ill effects. Like, he's the only person that's shown the ring had no effect on him.
That's a great point.
No, I don't think it was. I don't know if it was zero effect, but it had a low effect on him.
Yeah. And of course, there's also the fact that he picked up Frodo's sword and faced down a giant spider.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, charged into. I mean, he didn't know that all the orcs had knocked themselves out in a riot, basically, and he charged into there to free Frodo.
And he did proceed to kick some orc ass. Mm-hmm. That was nice and satisfying.
You guys may have messed me up. All 3 of those that Chris mentioned is where I'm at. And the Shelob rescue is Two Towers, right?
Yeah. No, it's
Return of the King.
It is Return of the King? So
if we're talking movies.
He's taken at the end of Two Towers, right?
No, he's taken by Shelob. You're thinking of the books, because the book, The Two Towers, ends with Frodo getting captured by Shelob.
Okay, then I don't have one for Two Towers then, because I've obviously run them together as well. But
wait, there's a book?
It's not as well known.
But mine definitely, and it's clearly, and it's early. I mean, it's 3.5 hours in, but the ending of Fellowship, where he wades into the water, and they take a lot of time with it. Peter Jackson took a lot of time with that moment, and I guess Sean Astin really did almost drown. But the idea that he comes out and the guy Samwise Gamgee does not know how to swim.
No.
Frodo looks at him and goes, "Sam, you can't swim."
There's so much water in this entire trilogy that Samwise has to deal with. He has to jump over onto a dock or off a dock onto a paddle boat, and it's like the amount of water he has to face as a non-swimmer is probably as intense as carrying that ring that Frodo has to do up the banks of Mordor. But the almost drowning, Samwise almost drowning at the end of Fellowship. Then of course the Shelob rescue, him coming in and basically sneak attacking Shelob and just like going to town on her. And again, taking the time with it, Peter Jackson taking the time with that, it's like, he's going to die. This is where we lose Samwise, you know, and the tension is built up so well. And then, but all in the, and you're right in the sense that he's afraid of Gandalf, but the thing is, he's already made the determination by the end of Fellowship that I'm not meaning to. This has nothing to do with Gandalf anymore.
Oh, no,
you are my friend.
No, I just like that's in the early part of it. He's clearly, you know.
I totally agree. And then so I put Shelob Rescue in the Two Towers section. So I guess I don't have one for Two Towers. But
are you sure it's not the delightful rabbit stew that he makes?
Or the whole relationship between him and
Gollum?
Gollum and trying to protect Frodo from Gollum, that could work too, because he's literally he's protecting Frodo because Frodo doesn't realize that having Gollum around might be really super dangerous.
I'm sorry, just Sam is such a good friend because Gollum is so transparently trying to fuck them over.
Yeah.
And they have a Harry Potter troop kind of breakup during that time when he's being so mean to Gollum and Frodo doesn't realize why he's being so mean. It's like, I'm not sure, Samwise, you might be the villain in this case. And it's pretty intense that they almost break up, but they don't, and it's lovely.
Obs.
And they go, and for the third one, for Return, I'm totally on board with the I can't carry it, but I can carry you, and the picking him up after again that long speech from both of them.
Yeah.
Because Frodo's done.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't care anymore. He could give a fuck about where this ring is going. It can be Saruman's, it can be Sauron's, whoever the fuck wants it can have it. And Samwise is like, no, this was not the best vacation I've ever had in my life. So we're getting to the top of that mountain and we're going to dump this ring. And when he picks Frodo up, and the long shot of that moment is one of the most beautiful photographed things I've ever seen in the movies. And that's technical about it, but it is a very great moment. And like David said, Sean Astin,
Yeah.
he does not get talked enough about for Samwise Gamgee. You know, a role that could have just been done and been incidental is the most important role in this.
Yeah, Sam truly is the unsung hero of the trilogy.
Yes.
The I can't carry it, but I can carry you moment is so fucking iconic. So many tears have been spilled over that scene. And just you saying it, I hear the line in my head. And not just that, I hear the music.
Yes.
I hear the score behind that
Yes.
line as beautiful stuff.
Yes.
I have to say, a scene I really enjoy just as much is after they've dropped the ring in and they've escaped. And then they're kind of on that ledge of rock and they're surrounded by lava. And they're just kind of like, oh, we're going to die.
And then the eagle is
not
gone.
just before the eagle, where they're just talking. It's just like,
These are our last moments.
yeah.
Let's spend them talking about the Shire.
And they were great about, and they were good with it. You know, it wasn't even resignation. It was just they had done their duty. They had done their job.
Yeah,
and,
there's some resignation.
And they're still together.
There's some resignation on Sam's part because he does get a little choked up, more than a little. And it's now that Frodo is free of the ring's influence, Frodo gets to be the one to comfort him.
Yes, you're right. And Samwise's wife and kids, man, you know, he's like, I'm not going to see them anymore, and that's all I want to do.
Well, he's not married at that point.
At that point, yeah, and it's like
his garden has been untended months at this point.
At least 11 to 12 months based on what they say on the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because they get back home 13 months to the day.
Yeah.
And it seems it's really long, and they probably only went like 2 miles. But when you're going through lava and all that water. Yeah, I agree, David. Just bringing up the I can I can't carry it, but I can carry you moment. Just thinking about it puts me in that space again, and it's wonderful. My second topic. What are your favorite moments of the Fellowship working together, whether they're together, or whether they're, because by the end of Fellowship, they're split into two camps, but there's always moments of them working together to accomplish a task. And whether it's, but what's your favorite moment of them working together? Chris?
Well, Fellowship, again, it's the end where once Frodo and Sam have set off, it's just such a funny moment where Aragorn turns to Legolas and Gimli and goes, "Let's go orc hunting," and they are just so happy and they are ready to go kill them.
Because they were just lamenting.
They were ready to just go. They're ready for revenge. They are ready to take care of business.
They were just lamenting
and
Frodo's leaving.
Mine from Two Towers is... I always have to take a moment to remember which one is Merry and which one is Pippin. Pippin is the one who suggests that Treebeard drop them off closer to Saruman, because he says closer to danger, he won't expect it. They'll probably get away quicker. And it's his way of tricking Treebeard into seeing what Saruman has done to the trees.
That's a great point.
So, and of course you see in the movie the whole council where they take forever to agree on anything, and they're like, no, we're going to stay out of it. And then Treebeard sees that, roars, and then 10, 15 seconds later, all the Ents are there, and they go and fuck shit up.
They do fuck shit up.
They do. Quite handily.
And wonderfully.
And I think in 3... I had it and I lost it. Shoot. Well, I mean, I think the best part for me is when they need to go by Frodo time, so they assemble an army again and go distract Sauron at the Black Gate, and that is the moment where Gimli and Legolas do the side by side with a friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that the ghost?
No, but that's pretty funny too when Aragorn comes off the pirate ship and where they're expecting the pirates for Sauron, and then they're about to start fighting him, and then just the wave of ghosts fly.
Yeah, we talked about this. The wave of ghosts is my biggest pet peeve of the...
I liked it. I liked them in the background chewing things down like cartoon piranhas.
I have wished every time I've watched the movie since 2003 that when Aragorn got them to agree to fight by his side, they had become corporeal again.
I know, that would have involved having so many more people on set.
I know it would have, but still, just the wave of green mist has always annoyed me.
Also, apropos of nothing, I want a warg.
Oh, yes.
I want a giant wolf rat
evil,
thing.
But
they're not inherently evil. You could
they're
raise
trained,
good ones,
yes.
I bet.
Yeah, exactly. I bet if you trained one like from birth, it'd be a cute little monstrous pet.
Oh, yeah.
And you could ride it to work.
Of course.
In full disclosure, for the fave moment, you didn't have to do one from each film, but I applaud your.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was.
No.
Oh, I thought we were just continuing a theme here.
I mean, if there's 3 moments, because you all know me, it's like I'll talk about Lord of the Rings trilogy forever. If you want
to talk favorite moments, I'll just say anything with Gimli is probably the best thing for me. He was I think my favorite character overall.
Yes.
Let's see. Favorite moments of them working together. I think the first time we actually actively see them start working as a team is when they're in the mines of Moria in Fellowship.
Yeah.
And the bridge collapses.
Yep.
And Legolas, he just leaps to the other side because fuck Legolas. God almighty. He just, leaps
so
to the other
beautiful.
side, and him and Aragorn, Aragorn is tossing hobbits over the gap, and Legolas is catching them, just alley-ooping everybody over this bridge. I've always loved that.
Which makes it a fun callback in the third one when he has the toss Gimli.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't tell the dwarf. I mean, don't tell the elf.
Well, that's Two Towers. That's the Battle of Helm's Deep.
I see. 3, Return of the King is basically one long final battle. I can't remember when that happens.
Yeah, you have to toss me.
Yeah, you have to talk because they have to get over and okay.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
the
that
Two
is
Towers.
that is Helm's Deep. Yeah.
But like you were saying, Sam, because they are separated by the end of Fellowship, it's not necessarily like people working together in terms of the members of the Fellowship. For the next 2 movies, Two Tower, it's the elves showing up at Helm's Deep.
Yeah.
And just how happy Aragorn is to see that they're there. And then how fucking tragic it is when like 90% of them get killed on the front lines.
Yes.
And then Return of the King, I mean, when it comes to working together, the entire Battle of Pelennor Fields, starting with the Rohirrim appearing on the horizon, ending with Legolas and Gimli and Aragorn showing up in the boats with the army of the dead. Just that entire sequence is so emotional, and I love every second of it. Again, you want to talk about like hearing it in your head. When I hear like the horns of the Rohirrim, and I just picture the entire thing in my head. Like I've watched this movie so many times. I love that sequence so much. I hear the music. I see the visual of all the orcs turning and looking, and then you see them appear. Can you imagine just being one of those orcs and seeing that fucking cavalry on the horizon, and then they all start screaming death in your direction? I would have shit my pants and just, fuck you guys. Fuck Sauron. I'm out.
Well, you get that feeling when you see that one commander orc just watch his face fall.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I had to preface this with I also love at the end of Fellowship when after lamenting the fact that the two of the smallest folk had to go off by themselves to deliver the ring, and that they realized that they had to do it, and then let's go kill some orcs, and they got super happy right away.
Well, I think
that is a great moment of them realizing that we still have to do our part of the job.
Right. I don't think it's so much that they're excited to go orc hunting as it is, oh shit, we have to rescue Merry and Pippin instead.
Right.
Yes. we have members to go get ourselves, and we have other people to meet.
It's just that other look of look of glee of we're gonna fuck shit up. It's just,
oh yeah.
Yes. And to go along with that, I don't know if you can call this, working together, but the whole Boromir redeeming himself by taking on the Uruk-hai all by himself to save the two.
Boromir.
Boromir.
I keep thinking you're going to say like barometric.
He's wheelbarrow-mere.
Barometric? Oh, shut up. Now I'm going to say wheelbarrow mirror. Boromir. And Sean Bean, again, just making his name in that movie and then continuing on and becoming, but always...
Becoming the guy who dies in everything.
Becoming the guy who dies in everything, but the idea that... I'm sorry, but nothing will top his... I mean... Dying as Ned Stark, that was pretty intense, but still, 3 super Uruk-hai arrows to the chest and to the back, and he still stood up and said, "I'm not done yet."
His death was unfortunate because he really wasn't. He did the same thing when anyone else was really just kind of presented with the ring. He has that moment of where it tempts him.
Yep.
And he's just trying to make the tiny hobbit man see reason, and then he snaps out of it, and then he has a badass death.
Yeah.
Protecting the other hobbits,
and then also having his moment where he accepts Aragorn not only as his friend, his captain, but also as his king. And that was probably the first moment, and it's really long into the first movie, but that's where I said, oh shit, we're going to cry a lot during this trilogy. I'm sure there were other moments in Fellowship that were, Frodo having to get to the Elven village and to get saved, and so that whole ride with, which?
Arwen.
I have an issue with Arwen and Arwen.
Aowen.
Aowen.
See,
They're
vowels
the
and-
same person.
All right. This is why like vowels and consonants are so important in Middle Earth, because it sounded to me like you said Boromir, which is just a combination of the two brothers. There is Boromir and Faramir.
Faramir.
Near Faramir, wherever
I was about to say,
Boromir.
what if Boro translates to near?
And then there's Aowen and Arwen.
Arwen.
It just sounds like these characters in on Earth would be like Chrissy and Christy.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes into my addition to my question, your initial question of the favorite moment of the Fellowship working together. But which part is your favorite? Which part of the trilogy?
This is. Oh, sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No, you can jump in if you want. I got to think for a minute.
This is contrary to like popular opinion, but I'm going to say Two Towers.
Like which movie, or just like any particular part of the movies? Or
Ostensibly, it was which part of the trilogy was your favorite.
Okay.
But if you have a segment,
I'll say Return, because it's the culmination of everything that was set up. I generally, unless it absolutely shits the bed, in a trilogy, I'm gonna enjoy the third one the most, because everything else is build up, and that's supposed to be the payoff. So if it's not good, I mean, it doesn't necessarily negate the rest of the trilogy, but I want that to be the best part.
Right.
And there are several payoffs in Return of the King. There's several endings, especially if you do the extended edition. There's even more endings.
I got to say Two Towers, because as much as I love Return of the King, it's the only one. It's the one that I have the most nitpicks with.
Sure.
Like minor changes that I think could have been made to make it in my opinion, a solid 10. But yeah, I love Two Towers.
I'm a big nerd in this, and this probably proves your point that maybe I don't hate people as much as I say I do. But the Return of the King, simply because of the ending when they're being coronated, basically after Aragorn has gotten his crown, and they celebrate the hobbits, and they bow to Aragorn, and he stops and says, "No, my friends, you bow to no one." And then the whole elves, dwarves, halflings, everybody on screen just bows, and then it opens up to the fucking hobbits, man. And
that's every time. That's the moment where I stop crying, and then I don't stop until the credits are over.
I told Dave that's a
time.
great scene. It made better by the fact that the hobbits are just standing around looking really uncomfortable with everyone bowing to them.
Yeah, because they had no concept of that. I mean, because they're just inherently honorable. They treat their friends kind anyway. They treat their peoples kind anyway, and just to have this overwhelm, especially from men, it's like they're used to elves and they're used to dwarves a little bit, but the idea that men bow to them is just and
well, especially since, as Chris pointed out when we were talking yesterday, people are pretty much assholes to the hobbits for the entire trilogy.
Yes,
like even Gandalf at parts is just straight up mean to them. So yeah, it is satisfying to see them get acknowledged for their contributions.
super acknowledged and by the king.
Yeah.
and all hats off to Viggo Mortensen and the Aragorn character. Probably one of the great literary characters ever written, but definitely one of the great film characters ever put together. And that may be Viggo's fault, but really, really great. And especially going from the beginning of Fellowship to the end of Return of the King, and having that arc and being beautiful all the way through.
Just before you jump out, I was just going to say also to what Dave was saying about Two Towers, I really like the second part of a planned trilogy, the ending of Two Towers things are dire, things are up in the air, but it does end more hopeful than a lot of middle
Yes.
parts of trilogies do.
Absolutely.
Where things just like are really, really down, and you're like, well, goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It plays into the theme of the movies. Yeah.
It would have been very easy to end Two Towers on a dour note.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sam and Frodo are still captured by Faramir. The Rohirrim lose at Helm's Deep. Merry and Pippin are just lost in the woods and with Treebeard, and they refuse to do anything. Super dark. End of movie. Go home, everybody. But the fact that all their plots pay off, like the Rohirrim do win. Treebeard and the Ents sack Saruman's tower. Frodo and Sam do get released with Gollum and go off to finish their quest. So yeah, you're right. There was a lesser trilogy would have taken the dark road.
Right, and it plays well into Return of the King because Gandalf's basically like, all right, we got lucky, but Sauron's not dead yet, so we got work to do.
Yeah.
Also, Return of the King will always get extra points from me for having the most tear-inducing, wonderful end song,
Yes.
which is "Into the West" by Annie Lennox.
Yep.
Because I never saw Return of the King in theaters, but I heard that song when it came out, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah, it's probably a shame because I should have in my topics, but the music and the score of this entire trilogy and just the commitment. We say it all the time, we say it a lot, but it truly is a character and very character driven and very character based, and every character has a theme. And when it's like, oh shit, Sauron's coming because I hear that tune. It's like,
Before you go on your next topic, I have to backtrack a little bit because there is a teamwork moment that I forgot about from Two Towers, and it's Legolas going full Marty McFly and using an Uruk shield to surf down down the stairs to rescue Aragorn after he gets trapped at the bottom after the explosion.
Just the amazing feats that elves can do in this trilogy, man, and that makes you want to be an elf so much, man. It's like,
No, I'm good.
but the idea that the lore that Peter Jackson locked onto and committed to, the differences between elves and dwarves, the differences between halflings and men, it's like, but the idea that, yes, there's height, and one starts with half, but the idea that, and we're D&D geeks, so it's like just the clearness of the relationships between peoples, is just phenomenal in this trilogy. So, and I know your opinions on The Hobbit, but that's one thing I agree with you totally with The Hobbit trilogy is that it doesn't have the same kind of in-depth.
Hold on, they made a Hobbit trilogy?
They did.
When? Where was I?
We'll find out next month.
Oh no!
No,
I will cancel this podcast so fast. Stan, did you have any more discussion topics?
there was one addendum that you wanted to add into this.
Well, I've got a question, but I've also just got a couple of fun little mini topics. But first, this is a question mainly for you because Chris didn't see the extended editions. But am I alone in wishing that there was kind of like an in between the extended cuts and the theatrical version? Because when Katie and I were watching them in December, I was thinking I'd really like. This is blasphemy to a lot of Lord of the Rings fans. I'm not going to watch the extended editions every time. I love them. They're great, but I'm going to go to the theatrical versions. But I wish that there was stuff we could pull from the extended editions that have been put into the theatrical cut. Things that I think are important that could have been in there. I get why they're cut. But for example, like in the Two Towers extended edition, so much time is spent with Merry and Pippin in the forest with Treebeard that isn't in the theatrical edition. That's really not necessary to the story. Like, I think it's Pippin drinks the water and grows like 6 inches. And then they fight over it.
I love it.
But then there's also like the scene with Aragorn setting the wild horse free.
Yes.
Who then shows up later to rescue him after he falls over the cliff.
Yeah.
Which in the movie it's just like a random horse shows up and rescues him from the water and then goes back to, takes him back to Helm's Deep. There's no explanation given. I really wish that scene of him and Brigo in the stables would have been kept in there. But yeah, that's my question to you. Do you ever wish that there was an interquel? That's not the right word, but like an in-between.
Sure, but especially with stuff like with Brigo, there should have been probably a moment to where, oh, this is when he fell off the cliff. Oh, okay, this is the horse he had. Oh, I get it. Yeah, that should definitely been there. I just. The extended editions are definitely experiences, and you're probably going to get all you need to get in the theatrical editions, but I probably said that wrong too. Theatrical.
No, you're right.
I'm just going to make a pronunciation guide for every word you say on this show,
and I'll say it phonetically. But I don't know. Because I'm such a fan of the extended editions, and that's what I'll choose to watch, unless I'm like pressed. But since I make
I only have 3 hours to watch a Lord of the Rings movie.
Yes, let me
you
watch
can't
the
watch
2
Return
hour
of the King
45.
then.
I know. Return of the King is the one they didn't cut that much for the theatrical version, but it's like the Two Towers. I think it's 2 hours 50, and it's 3.5. On the extended, and then
that's not even including credits, which are
right.
easy 10 minutes themselves.
Fellowship is 2:45, I think. And
Return of the King is straight up 4.5 hours uncut.
That's right. It is cut for the theatrical edition because it is still 3 hours 15 minutes for the theatrical, but yeah, it is 4 hours for. But yeah, I just have so much fun with the extended edition, and I've talked about this billions of times, even including the Hobbit trilogy, which has been made as well. I don't care if it's not up to Lord of the Rings standards, but just the fact that I'm in that world again. And I would give a lot of money to actually be, if that world was real and I could live in it, I would be there.
Perfect. That's a great segue, Stan. Thank you. Just a fun little question for the two of you. All right, the three of us are transported to Middle Earth. What race do we become when we get there? Elves, men, dwarves, hobbits, orcs, wizards. What are you when you get there?
If we were coming from this world, we'd probably be in that world as men. But if we had a choice, I would probably be an elf, most likely.
Chris, what would you be if you suddenly ended up in Middle Earth?
I don't know. I get the feeling I'd be a dwarf. I feel like I'm a little too cynical to be a hobbit.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I would love to be a hobbit, though, because I don't want to fuck with the rest of that place.
You just want to live in your hobbit hole and tend to your garden.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
That sounds fine to me.
That's what I would be, wouldn't it?
Stan, you would 100%, in my opinion, be a hobbit. I would like to think that I'd show up in Middle Earth and be an elf, but I'd probably be a boring old man.
Man, yep.
I don't want to be an orc. That sounds like a literal hell on earth.
Well, yeah. And also, now that I've said it out loud, wizards aren't like a separate race, are they?
Well, they kind of are.
Gandalf
They
is
kind of are. They reference him as something that is not.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, so wizards are a separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I don't remember my Lord of the Rings history as well as I used to know it. We need to watch like Stephen Colbert's history lesson.
It starts with an M. It's not man because it's way longer than man, but.
I think you're right. Yeah, I know you're right, Chris.
The only reason I know for sure is because I had subtitles on, because I knew some of this stuff, some of the names would fly right.
Well,
past
his
me.
other name is Mithrandil.
Mithrandil.
That's what I saw.
So they're all the wizards, Saruman and all those
Radagast.
They were like born into this group of wizard folk. It's
Yeah,
kind
people who know their Tolkien lore better than I do could explain it better. But yeah. All right. So
I did have.
go ahead.
I do have the final, but there was another.
No, go ahead. I'll wrap it up later.
My final culmination and my answer is going to be really easy, but the question is, was the trilogy necessary? As a movie-making exercise, as a philosophical exercise, is it a necessary thing in our lore as artists or as literary peoples?
Oh, sure. Honestly, I thought the question was more technical, because I was thinking about it as like, at the time when they made it, it was only going to be made as a series of movies. Today, it would have, and definitely would have, worked best as an extended miniseries.
Which they're doing with Amazon.
No, I don't think.
No?
That's not
It's
exactly
not
what,
happening?
they're not retelling the story. They're setting it in I don't know what time period it is, but it's just it's in the world.
It's okay.
But something like that, but actually being the books with had Peter Jackson done something like that today, that would have probably made everyone that would have appeased everyone between theatrical and extended, because it would have been that combination
Right.
of a material.
Yeah, I agree with Chris, but absolutely it was necessary as a trilogy.
Yes.
I do not think you could do this in one or even two films. You had to have all three parts.
I think maybe the only problem is this was before Harry Potter and others took the bold step of just, you know what, this part of the series is going to be two movies.
Right. And also, if I'm remembering correctly, I think Universal wanted Jackson to make it into two movies.
Oh God.
And it just could not be done.
No.
And also, I mean, I shudder to think of how much money they would have lost had they done that. I mean, having three films and just the phenomenons they became, 100% it was necessary to make it a trilogy.
I think it's even more necessary on a grander, esoteric, philosophical way. And
You can pronounce all those words correctly.
Poor Boromir.
barometer.
He died twice.
But yeah, I think it's absolutely necessary as a tome, and I know that's literary as in books and stuff, but the idea that it's important for us as a people for something to grab onto. I think it does need to be taught in film schools. I think it needs to be taught in theater schools. I think it needs to be taught in philosophy classes. I think it should be taught in history classes in some way, how it connects to the hope of man.
And how it's one big World War I allegory.
That it's
So history
that's
too.
Big
There we go.
World War big World War I history. Even more so than that, but the idea as a film, as this particular film, you see, yes, Tolkien's books, World War I allegory, but the idea that this set of movies, made me hopeful for humankind, made me hopeful for us as a people that can deal with other peoples. And it's like the idea that it is still and will always, at least for me, resonate on a grander, higher level than what it was probably purposed for. I don't know if Peter Jackson saw it on that level, because he went right out and made King Kong, which was, he just wanted to make a really long version of King Kong too. But the idea that
I saw King Kong in the theater.
I didn't hate it. I love it actually. But the idea, but that has nowhere as much relevance to me as a Peter Jackson film than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Mm-hmm. And I think that's for me, it's always going to be the pinnacle of what I see. If I have any optimism at all, it's because of that film.
And in a general sense, it got Tolkien's work out to a lot of people who wouldn't have
Yes.
otherwise accessed it.
Yes.
Very nice. Okay, well, I'm going to take us out on a light note. All right, so going back to the we're in Middle Earth theme.
Uh-oh.
You are Frodo Baggins.
Oh, crap.
You have the ring. You have been quested to get it to Mount Doom and destroy it. At what point do you, Chris, and you, Stan, going through the things that Frodo went through, go, fuck this?
I don't know. Should it be the first stabbing or
Or the second stabbing?
which he survived only because he had mithril at that point?
Right.
Stan, at what point would you have said, fuck it, I'm going back home?
I don't know. If it was me, I guess again, if I had a friend like Samwise behind me, and then I had I had this elf chick carry me on the back of her horse and stuff to get me healed.
That only happened once, man.
I know. And maybe I would consider continuing on, but I don't know. Once we got to Rivendell. Once we got to Rivendell and my job was over, I got it to Rivendell. I got this fucking ring to Rivendell. I may not have been the one to raise my hand and say I'll do it. And
I mean, all he had to say was nothing.
exactly, Frodo makes a really intense choice because he, like you said, Chris, all he had to do was say nothing because nobody was expecting the hobbits to continue.
That's what
on.
Gandalf wanted him to do. When you watch his face after he says, "I'll take it,"
And he's like, oh, fuck, that's not the plan. But I would hope that I would choose to continue on. But I don't think, I probably after that first stabbing with the freaking skull face
which
things.
every time Sauron's influence gets near, he just starts having a heart attack.
Exactly. And at my age, that first feeling of a heart attack would probably been the last. So
I mean, Frodo gave up 5 feet from the finish line, and I couldn't blame him then either.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. It's like at the end when freaking Samwise wouldn't let him give up, and it's like he was done. Frodo was done, and but no, Samwise said no. We can do this, and it's like I'll do the best I can.
I mean, to be fair, he was in the throes of current traumatic stress disorder.
Yes, yes.
All right, so you wouldn't make it past first stabbing.
Probably not.
Chris.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I feel like somewhere on that battlefield when Faramir was pulling them towards whatever city they were trying to go to, and they got separated around that time, which is around the third or fourth or the fifth moment where the ring basically possesses Frodo to try and get him to give it up.
Yeah.
To the Nazgul. It's like, okay, you know what? I think I'm done.
Because I think, wasn't that one of the and that's why he was kind of pissed at Samwise for following me into the water, is that he knew he was going to be seduced by this ring, so he just wanted to be away from everybody else. And then Samwise is there, and he has to continue on. So it's like Samwise didn't allow him to be fully seduced by this ring. So
we all know Sam is a great accountability buddy.
It's true.
Yes.
All right. So I'm kind of in between. I would have made it past the first stabbing, I think. I would not have made it as far as Osgiliath.
Probably not.
The moment for me would be when they're trying to go over the mountain.
Yep.
And there is, little 3-foot me is trudging through 4 feet of fucking snow. Mm-hmm. And I look up, and there's goddamn Legolas just light-footing it on top of the snow, not even leaving footprints. He's not cold. He's still wearing his elf garb and not even...
He's essentially wearing a tank top and swim trunks for elves.
Basically. Meanwhile,
Licking an ice
everyone
cream.
else is freezing their asses off. That would have been the point where I was like, fuck this. I'm going home. Let Elf Boy have the ring.
And if
Meanwhile,
not-
Legolas is like, I want some ice cream.
Yeah, I can't stand being cold. All right, I've been stabbed. I'll get stabbed. I don't care.
Honestly,
but put me
I'm kind of on board. I'm not.
trudging
hate
up
cold.
a mountain through snow. And this
Uphill both ways.
Uphill both ways, and this fucking guy just goes walking by. I'm done.
That's before they go in and are just totally. That's before Moria, right?
Yes,
That's
because
before the first stabbing.
Yes,
they can't get through the snow. They have to go back and go through Moria.
And then they get all. First, you see all of Gimli's relatives just nothing but bones, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the entire thing of goblins and orcs coming off the walls.
Yeah.
Well, if the snow didn't do it, that might have. And then there's the first
Balrog.
stabbing.
Yeah.
And then the Balrog. It's like,
I have to keep saying it like that because it's like he has another one coming up.
Yeah, I mean, technically he gets stabbed 3 times if you include Shelob's stinger.
Yeah, there's the third one. Honestly, the Shelob part is enough to make me give up, but not because it's a giant spider, but trudging through the spider web.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, no. Yeah, that's...
The sticky stuff is like, no.
Shelob herself doesn't bother me, and this is always people's question because of how extremely arachnophobic I am.
Yeah.
People are always like, but so how do you deal with Shelob in Return of the King if you love that movie so much? Shelob in the movie doesn't bother me. Now, if I were Frodo and I were there, I'd be fucking terrified. And seeing him caught in her webs and struggling to get free, that is terrifying to me. But Shelob herself, if I encountered a spider that size in real life, I have guns. I'm going to shoot it. It's the tiny ones that I can't see coming after me that might be on me right now. Those are the ones that scare me.
I can't remember the exact meme, but it's just, I've seen different versions of this, but I saw a Lord of the Rings version where it's like Lord of the Rings, and it's this huge book stacked up, and it's Lord of the Rings if like Pippin had a gun. And it's just like, it's like a super thin book.
Oh, that's fantastic.
yeah,
like-
and speaking of Moria and stuff, and these moments where, why didn't Frodo give up? We haven't even talked about the most famous line of all time. Flee, you fools! When
Fly, you fools.
fly, you fools! It's like, so it's not that famous, I guess. But once he saw that Balrog rip Gandalf down, that might have been a clue to.
Oh, that would have been a give-up point for Frodo. That could have been a give-up point for Frodo because you see his face. Well, then they get outside and they're all shocked,
They're
and Aragorn's like, "We got to move."
Speaking of fantastic lines, I'm pretty sure this one is exclusive to the extended editions only, but it's the Two Towers when Grima comes to tell Saruman something, and Saruman goes, "Gandalf the wise, Gandalf the fool." And Katie and I were sitting there, and he said this line, and I went, "Got him."
Hashtag wrecked.
Yeah, we haven't. And it's like, because we could go on forever just talking about the actors. in
That's
these
just so
particular
petty. I
roles,
love.
It's like, it's just, yeah.
Oh, I love Gimli in Return of the King when he talks about them when they talk about going to the Black Gate to buy Frodo time, and I can't remember exactly what is it, Dave. When Gimli talks about going, they are there.
Small chance of success, high chance of.
High
I can't
risk
remember
of-
the whole thing.
I think it's high risk of death.
Yeah, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Exactly. I love that.
All right. Well, I'm going to give you guys a second to think about this last one while I wrap us up. But this is a very popular one that I feel like we'd be remiss if I didn't at least bring up. All right. It's been around as a meme for ages. Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan recently talked about it on their podcast. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is rated PG-13, which means that they get one use of a non-sexual fuck. You only get to pick one line out of all 3 movies, not one from each, but just one line. Where are you putting the fuck? Think about that for a second while I wrap us up here. All right, so this is the kickoff of our 4 Perfect Films coverage. Stan has got February, March, and April to go, and then Chris will cover us from summer into fall, and then I'll be wrapping up the year. This weekend, there is a WWE pay-per-view, the Royal Rumble, so we're going to be covering that.
This weekend. Oh, man.
Yes, it is. We're going to be covering that on This Is a Work with your host, David Two Dogs Hayes, next week. If you want to keep...
nobody else.
Well, you're on both. Shut up. If you want to keep up with Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us, or you can search for Long Walk Productions and Long Walk Podcasts on Facebook. To see more of our original work or hear past episodes that are no longer streaming, you can follow the YouTube links in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoy this show or any of the shows on this network, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you are listening on. There's the wrap-up. Guys, you get one use of the word fuck in Lord of the Rings. Where's it going, Stan?
Back to the Balrog and taking it of Gandalf. Fuck that.
It has to be an existing line that you put fuck into. Well, you know what? Fine. If Gandalf just looks at the Balrog and says fuck
that,
I'll accept just him looking at the Balrog and going fuck.
But it was more like Legolas going fuck that.
Chris, where are you putting the fuck?
It's not an existing line, but we mentioned it earlier. It's when the ghosts, the dead, come off the boat. The orc facing them just goes fuck.
I like it. I've heard a lot of good ones over the years, and you can find them everywhere online, but I have to go with Fellowship of the Ring, Arwen facing down the ring wraiths, and they tell her to hand Frodo over, and she goes, if you want him, come and fucking claim him. That would be it for me. All right, well, that wraps up the episode.
Are we done?
Yes, we are done.
Oh. Well, I mean, that was first podcast. What about second podcast?
Thank you very much for listening.
I guess he hasn't heard about thirdsies.
Thank you very much for listening to Long Walk Talks.
Peace out.